Have you ever wondered what your daily habits might be doing to your body? Silently? Not the obvious ones. Not the sugar, the salt, the sitting too long. I'm talking about that one habit. The one nobody ever wants to say out loud. The one we chuckle about in private, but avoid in public like the plague. Yeah, that one. Daily masturbation. It's common. It's natural. For some people, it's even comforting. Especially when you're alone. Especially as you get older. And for many men, it becomes part of the routine. Like brushing your teeth or checking the door lock before bed. But what if I told you that same quiet ritual, done daily, almost without thinking, might be doing more to your prostate than you ever realized? What if that habit, that moment of escape, could slowly be wearing down the very part of your body that controls one of the most delicate systems you have left? And here's the thing. This isn't about guilt. This isn't about shame. This is about something deeper, your health, your comfort, and yes, even your dignity. Because your prostate? It's not just some tiny organ buried deep inside. It's part of your identity. It controls how you urinate, how you feel, how you age. And when it starts to misbehave, it doesn't whisper, it screams. Frequent nighttime bathroom trips. That awkward dribble that catches you off guard. That burning sensation you don't want to mention to anyone. Could it be linked to a habit you've carried for years without a second thought? Today, we're going to talk about it, openly, honestly, without judgment. Because you deserve to know the truth. Not from rumor, not from barbershop banter, but from real science, real stories, real talk. And I promise you this, point number 4 in this video, it will completely change the way you think about your body and your peace of mind. So stay with me, because this isn't just about what you do behind closed doors. It's about the quality of the years you have left. And if you're brave enough to listen, drop a comment right now and say, I'm listening. Because at Thriving Oldies, we don't hide from the hard stuff. We face it, with clarity, with compassion, and with courage. Let's dive in. Mr. Thompson was 71, a quiet, soft-spoken widower, retired schoolteacher, lived alone in a little house he'd shared with his late wife for over 40 years. At his yearly checkup, the doctor asked a routine question, just like always. Any changes in your sleep lately? Mr. Thompson hesitated. Then he smiled sheepishly. Sometimes I help myself relax before bed. Helps me fall asleep easier. You know. His doctor didn't laugh. He didn't flinch. He just nodded, then said something that caught Mr. Thompson completely off guard. I understand, but you should know, at your age, doing it every single day might be doing your prostate more harm than good. That hit him like a brick. You see, most people assume that anything natural must be harmless. Especially something that's been part of your routine for decades. It brings comfort, a little release, a moment to yourself. And it's true, in moderation, ejaculation can be helpful. It can relieve built-up prostatic fluid, reduce congestion, even ease tension in the pelvic area. But when it becomes daily, especially as the body slows down, the story changes. Your prostate isn't what it used to be. With age, it becomes more sensitive, more reactive, more inflamed, especially in men dealing with benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, when the prostate begins to enlarge and press against the urethra. And when you're stimulating that area every single day, without enough recovery time, it's like poking an already sore muscle over and over again. Eventually, it pushes back. You might start to notice subtle signs. Small blue diamond, that weird twinge after you urinate. Small blue diamond, feeling like you didn't quite empty your bladder. Small blue diamond, a pressure deep in the groin you never used to feel. But because it feels familiar and even good in the moment, you dismiss the possibility that it could be contributing to the discomfort you're starting to feel elsewhere. And here's the big misconception. If it feels good, it must be harmless. But the truth? Comfort doesn't always mean safety. Sometimes, the very thing we use to soothe ourselves becomes the quiet source of stress we never saw coming. So, if you, or someone you care for, has gotten into the habit of daily release, I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to help you listen to your body. Try spacing it out. Every other day. Maybe twice a week. And during that pause, pay attention. Do you sleep better or worse? Does urination feel easier? Does that subtle pressure fade a bit? Your body has wisdom, but it needs silence to speak. Give it that silence. Just for a while. And remember, this is just one layer. The prostate is more complicated than most of us realize. Because next, we're heading into even trickier territory. Prostate cancer. Is daily masturbation a shield or a trigger? The research might surprise you. Let's talk about that next. Let's talk about one of the biggest debates around prostate health. Does ejaculation protect against prostate cancer or cause it? Now, depending on where you get your information, you'll hear very different answers. Some folks say, release often. It flushes out toxins. Others warn, too much of it? That's dangerous. So, what's the truth? Well, in 2016, researchers conducted one of the largest studies of its kind. They followed over 30,000 men for 18 years. That's not a small survey. That's real science. And their findings? They surprised everyone. The study showed that men who ejaculated moderately, about 4 to 7 times per month, had a slightly lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to men who did it much less frequently. Sounds like a win for the flush it out theory, right? Yes, but here's where it gets tricky. The protective benefit plateaus. Meaning, once you hit a certain frequency, doing it more often doesn't seem to offer any extra help. In fact, for older men, especially those already dealing with an enlarged or inflamed prostate, doing it daily may backfire. Because the prostate isn't just a valve. It's a gland. A sensitive one. When overstimulated, especially without proper rest, hydration, and care, it can respond with swelling, irritation, or increased pressure on the bladder. So is occasional release? Possibly beneficial. But daily repetition? That's a different story. Here's the misconception we need to gently break. People say, ejaculate often to clean out toxins. But your body isn't a dirty pipe. It doesn't need flushing like an old sink. Your body knows balance. The liver, the kidneys, the lymph system. These are your real detox machines. And overstimulating one area, like the prostate, can actually introduce new stress, not remove it. So what's the practical takeaway here? Simple. Don't obsess over the numbers. Don't count the days on the calendar. Instead, focus on the bigger picture. White heavy checkmark stay hydrated. Your prostate needs water more than friction. White heavy checkmark walk every day. Movement reduces pelvic tension. White heavy checkmark eat foods that reduce inflammation, like berries, tomatoes, pumpkin seeds, and green leafy vegetables. Your prostate will thank you more for a spinach salad and a brisk walk than for pushing a daily ritual your body may no longer need as often. And now that we've addressed the cancer conversation, let's pivot to something even more common. Something that creeps in quietly but affects your entire night. Because believe it or not, this private little habit, it might be messing with your rest more than you think. Let's explore that next. James was 68. A calm man, retired postmaster. A creature of habit. Every night he followed the same routine. A warm shower, a light snack, what he called a little unwinding. He'd say, "It helps me sleep." Been doing it for years. But something strange started happening. He'd fall asleep fast, sure. But then he'd wake up around 2 or 3 a.m., eyes wide open, mind racing. He couldn't explain it. He wasn't stressed. No noise. No pain. Just this restlessness. By morning he'd feel groggy. Foggy. Like he'd been up all night, even though he'd technically been asleep. For a while he blamed it on age. Maybe it's just part of getting older, he thought. Until he read something that finally made it click. You see, masturbation triggers chemical highs. That short burst of dopamine, that feel-good hormone that says, ah, all is well. And serotonin, too, the one that calms you down. In younger people, these chemicals dip and reset quickly. But as we age, that recovery slows down. The hormonal roller coaster becomes harder to ride. So yes, it might feel like it's helping you sleep, but what's really happening is a short spike in feel-good, followed by a sudden crash. That crash can disrupt your deep sleep cycles. You fall asleep fast, but your brain doesn't stay in the restful zone. Instead, it wakes you up, restless, sometimes anxious. And then there's the cortisol. That's your body's stress hormone. After overstimulation, especially at night, your cortisol levels can rise instead of fall. So instead of winding down, your system winds up. Now here's the big misunderstanding. So many people, especially men, believe this routine is helping them sleep. They do it out of habit, out of comfort, out of routine. But in reality, for some, especially older adults, it's doing just the opposite. So what can you do about it? Here's a gentle suggestion. Try changing the time. Instead of right before bed, maybe mid-morning, or not every day at all. Or go a full week and simply observe. No shame, no pressure. Just take note. How do you sleep? How quickly do you fall asleep and stay asleep? How do you feel when you wake up? Your body is always whispering. You just have to slow down enough to listen. And once again, this isn't about guilt. It's about being informed, being intentional. Because sleep isn't just rest. It's repair. It's how your body heals. It's how your brain detoxes. And your prostate, your hormones, your entire body needs that healing. So if something, even something private and personal, is silently stealing your sleep, don't ignore it. But even beyond sleep, there's one more layer we need to talk about. It's not physical, not chemical. It's emotional. And it's something most people won't ever say out loud. But you might be feeling it. Let's go there. Charles was 75. Retired mechanic. Proud father. Known for fixing anything with an engine. But lately, something was off. After using the bathroom, he'd step away, only to feel that uncomfortable dribble. Not once, not twice, but nearly every time. At first, he shrugged it off. Just old age, he thought. But the annoyance grew. He started avoiding long walks. Stopped going out without a change of underwear in his bag. It wasn't just physical anymore, it was emotional. Embarrassing. But here's the twist. When he finally mentioned it to his doctor, the conversation revealed something deeper. Charles had gotten into the habit of daily self-stimulation, done quickly, quietly, often while sitting with tension in his core. And the doctor gently said something that stuck. This isn't just about your bladder, it might be your pelvic floor crying out for rest. You see, most of us don't realize that the same muscles used during masturbation, especially the lower abdominal and pelvic ones, are also the ones that control urination. They're called your pelvic floor muscles. And here's what happens. When you're repeatedly contracting those muscles, day after day, without stretching, without rest, without proper posture, they don't grow stronger. They grow tired. It's like overworking a rubber band. Eventually, it stops snapping back the way it used to. That tiredness? It shows up as small orange diamond dribbling after urination, small orange diamond hesitation when starting to pee, small orange diamond a weak stream, small orange diamond or even a sense of urgency, like you have to go even when your bladder's barely full. Now here's the misconception. We blame aging. We say, ah well, I'm getting older. But truth is, it's not always your age. Sometimes it's muscle fatigue. So what can you do about it? Here's something that surprises a lot of people. Kegels. They're not just for women. They're for you too. Kegels help strengthen the pelvic floor in a gentle, controlled way. You don't need a gym. You don't need equipment. Just a quiet moment and a little awareness of your body. Start small. Tighten the muscles you'd use to stop your urine. Hold for a few seconds. Release. Repeat a few times a day. Over time, you might start noticing heavy checkmark, better bladder control. Heavy checkmark, less urgency. Heavy checkmark, less post-pee dribble. Pair that with less frequent masturbation, better posture, and mindful breathing, and you give those tired muscles the break they deserve. Because this isn't just about inconvenience. It's about freedom. Freedom to go out without worry. Freedom to sleep through the night without interruptions. Freedom to feel confident in your own body again. But now, let's take a breath. Because we've talked about the physical. We've touched on science. But there's one more layer that's deeper than muscles and glands. Something that sits in the heart. Something we rarely speak of. The emotional toll. The loneliness. The habit. The secret no one else sees. Let's go there. Some elderly men say it's their only comfort. A private moment. A familiar release. A ritual that starts quietly and ends quietly. But behind those closed doors, behind that habit, there's often something much deeper. A kind of quiet loneliness that no release can heal. And I say that not to shame you. I say it because maybe, just maybe, you felt it too. The silence in the house after the last child moved out. The empty side of the bed where your partner used to sleep. The ache of missing conversation. The warmth of a hand that hasn't held yours in a very long time. See, what starts as a physical habit can sometimes become a stand-in for emotional connection. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with seeking relief, the danger comes when it becomes the only form of comfort. Here's what happens, scientifically speaking. Self-stimulation releases a flood of feel-good hormones. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, even if just for a moment. But when that moment ends, and there's no one beside you, no voice calling your name, the emotional contrast deepens. And over time, the brain can become dependent on the routine, not for pleasure, but just to feel something. That's when it turns from habit to emotional crutch. And when it happens in isolation, it can quietly fuel withdrawal. You stop reaching out. You stop visiting. You stop being seen. And you start disappearing, piece by piece, from the lives of others. And here's the heartbreaking truth. People laugh about it. They joke. They dismiss it as just an old man's pastime. But beneath that humor is real pain, real longing, real men suffering in silence because no one ever told them, it's okay to say, I'm lonely. So let me offer you this. Instead of focusing only on the physical act, start nurturing emotional closeness again. That doesn't always mean romance. It can mean heavy checkmark, a phone call with a friend. Heavy checkmark, sitting on a park bench and saying hello to a stranger. Heavy checkmark, joining a local seniors group or church gathering. Heavy checkmark, letting your grandchild hold your hand during a walk. Even simple touch, a hug, a handshake, a warm pat on the back, has been shown to lower blood pressure, reduce anxiety, and increase happiness in seniors. Because what your heart longs for is not just release. It's connection. It's being seen, heard, valued. And I promise you, that kind of healing runs far deeper than any habit ever could. So if you're hearing this and thinking, maybe this is me, that's okay. You're not alone. You've never been alone. There's still time to reconnect, to rebuild, to replace a lonely routine with a living relationship. So now, let's take a breath, a real, honest, quiet breath, and reflect on the emotional weight of what we've just uncovered. Because understanding your body is powerful, but understanding your heart? That's where true healing begins. Let's reflect together. If you've made it this far, and something inside you feels uncomfortable, uncertain, or even exposed, let me tell you this first and foremost. You're not alone. These conversations are hard. They stir things we've buried. They poke at old routines we never thought to question. They shine a light on corners of our lives we've always kept hidden, even from ourselves. But friend, that discomfort you're feeling? It means you're awake. It means you care. It means something inside of you is choosing truth over habit. And that is brave. Because this conversation, it was never about shame. Never about telling you what you shouldn't do. It's about what you deserve to understand. And once you know what's happening in your body, once you start connecting the dots between habit and health, you move from confusion to clarity, from fear to freedom. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" And you start saying, "Now I know what to do." See, there's power in naming things. There's peace in understanding your body's language. And there's healing in realizing you're not just growing older, you're growing wiser. So here's what I want you to do, starting today. Green Circle Talk. Not to everyone, but to someone. Someone you trust. Whether it's your doctor, a friend, a brother, or even your son. Say, "I've been thinking about this, can we talk?" Just that alone opens the door to change. Green Circle, pay attention. Your body is always speaking. Is your sleep worse? Is your stream slower? Is your spirit a little heavier after certain routines? Don't ignore it. Don't explain it away. Just notice. That's the first step toward taking care. Green Circle asks questions. When you're at the clinic, ask. Don't let embarrassment close your mouth. The right question could save you years of discomfort. And the doctor? They've heard it all before. What feels personal to you is often very normal to them. And finally, if all of this has stirred something painful inside of you, if you feel ashamed or uncertain or afraid, please hear this with all your heart. You are not broken. You are aging. And aging isn't weakness, it's evolution. You are still whole, still valuable. And yes, you are still allowed to change. You can let go of habits that no longer serve you. You can invite new ones that protect your peace. And you can keep walking forward with clarity, with strength, and with dignity. Because this journey, it doesn't end in shame. It ends in hope. And if no one's told you this in a while, let me be the one to say it. You are worth caring for. Not just your body, but your heart, your mind, your future. Stay with me, because next we're going to tie everything together. We'll recap what we've learned, spark a conversation, and make sure this message lives on, not just in your ears, but in your life. Let's keep going. You're doing beautifully. Let's take a moment to breathe and reflect on what we've uncovered together. We didn't just talk about a taboo topic today. We opened a door, one that very few have the courage to even knock on. So to recap gently and with clarity, we explored the physical side. How something as routine as daily masturbation can lead to hidden stress on the prostate, especially as we age. We unpacked the prostate cancer myth, looked at the science behind ejaculation and frequency, and how more isn't always better. We talked about sleep, and how nighttime habits might quietly be stealing your rest instead of restoring it. We went even deeper into the pelvic floor, that often ignored muscle group that, when overworked, can lead to leakage, dribbling, and embarrassment. Not because you're broken, but because your body has limits and it's asking for rest. And then we sat together in the most tender part of all, the emotional weight, the loneliness, the secrecy, the need for human connection that sometimes gets buried beneath old habits. All of this, every bit of it, points to one simple truth. Even something as private as self-comfort deserves your full attention. Not fear, not shame, just awareness. So I want to hear from you. Really, have you ever wondered about this before? Has this been something you or someone close to you has experienced in silence? What's been your truth, your worry, your question? Drop a comment below. You don't have to say much. Just start with, "I've been there," or "This opened my eyes." Let's create a space where people feel seen, not judged. That's the heart of Thriving Oldies. And if this video gave you something to think about, if it made you pause, reflect, or even feel understood, then please give it a like. It helps others find this message. And it tells the platform, this conversation matters. And if you're new here, or if you've been watching in silence, I invite you to subscribe. Here at Thriving Oldies, we talk about the real stuff, the quiet struggles, the big questions, the tender truths of aging, all through a lens of dignity, compassion, and courage. Because aging isn't the end of your story, it's the part where your wisdom becomes your power. So thank you. Thank you for sitting with me through this difficult topic. Thank you for listening with an open heart. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Stay informed, stay strong, and above all, stay thriving. I'll see you in the next one.